pandemic. There have been well over 25,000 deaths in our state. Westchester County, we have 36,984 positive cases since the pandemic began. And unfortunately, we've had 1,452 fatalities due to the virus. Getting down to the local level, Somers, as of today, we got 2 new cases today. We're up to 419 positive cases since the pandemic began. Of that, we have 8 active in our community. So once again, I get files from the county every day, which gives me addresses. So I'm able to see if, these are outside of our nursing home, and they're scattered throughout the community. So it's not like we have a hot spot anywhere, but yesterday it was 7, day before that it was 6. A couple of days before that it was 5. So we're not going in the right direction. But as people, as the virus resolves, they get taken off this list. So after a 14 to 18 day period, either people are resolved and they're no longer quarantining or being considered active. But I think it's important to know also that each of these 8 cases undergo what's called contact tracing. So that is for to stem the spread of the virus. I called the health department the other day and said, well, it'd be great if we could get a report from the contact tracers and tell us, did they all get it in Reese Park playing basketball? They can't because there's no nets, but I use that as an example. And what the commissioner was telling me was, that's not the purpose. The purpose really is, if we identify someone with COVID, we're going to go out and find out where that person had contacts, talk to those people. So number one, they don't go out and infect anybody, but also advise them that they've been exposed. So that, once again, it's ongoing and active. And I guess the message here to the town, we're doing a great job. Anywhere you go, people are wearing masks, as they should. We keep getting these reports and complaints about businesses. You go into a business, either they limit the amount of people that are in there, like some of the grocery stores, they'll count how many people go in, but then they go in there and they see people without masks. And they go to the owner and they say, hey, this person should be wearing a mask. And the business owner is hesitant about asking someone to put a mask on. Well, that's mandatory. If you're in a business, you as the owner have the responsibility to keep your business safe. And to do that, you need to make sure everybody in your establishment is wearing a mask. And if you don't have masks on hand, I would suggest you do get masks and hand them to someone that does not have one, or ask that person to leave the store.
And Rick, a perfect example is, do as you preach, is the townhouse. Every single person, including you, I know Rich was in there the other day, has to come in, get their temperature taken, wear a mask, hand sanitize. That's the employees have to sign in, and people who are coming in to do business have to, answer COVID questions. And we're taking it seriously in the townhouse, and we expect other businesses to do the same.
Yeah.
And we have a good actually, I think the process we have in place is working pretty well.
Right. We have an obligation, like you said, Tom, as an employer, to keep our employees safe, as well as every other business person in this community. So, the message is, This hasn't gone away. It's still out there. There are our neighbors to the east and west have positive cases. So we have to keep up our due diligence. I think as a state, we're doing pretty well. We're in a county, we're under 1% positivity rates, which is where we want to be. Obviously, we want to be at 0, but it's not getting worse. Let's put it that way. We've flattened the curve, and it's been downturned. And I would hope before the new flu season kicks in, that we get these numbers down to 0. Schools are going to be opening September 8th in Somers. That's a grand experiment. I know Dr. Blanche and the school board and I think Tom, you served on.
I was on the committee. I missed the meeting today, but I will say this: just looking online and reading emails and all, it does seem like Somers is far advanced than a lot of other schools around here. You've seen that Lakeland, Croton, and others are all going to virtual learning. One of the main reasons I heard is because they can't get the staff that they need. Somers jumped on this, as you know, right away. They put a plan in place. We'll see if the plan works. You never know. I mean, all these colleges had plans also, and every day you turn around, another college is sending kids home. Hopefully this will be a little easier to control than college kids. But they were definitely ahead of the curve, Somers was, and that's a testament to Dr. Blanche getting out there and trying to get ahead of it.
But you're right. This is a key part right now. You have people returning from vacation. I know the county has said they're watching those numbers carefully. Kids going back to school, and people getting a little bit lax. As Rick knows, there's a business that I've been disappointed in is they've not enforced. They post their rules, but they don't seem to pay much attention to them. And you can tell people are getting a little bit loose, a little casual. Nobody I know is sick. I'm sure people are saying, and if I get sick, I'm going to be fine. I'm young. But, that's how and we've seen, like you say, Tom, in college campuses, how quickly the thing can spread. Yeah. So I think this is really a critical time over the next month, as you said, Rick, before the regular flu season, so to speak, starts. So I think we all should, be extra careful and vigilant, obviously.
Right. And just to put a exclamation point on that, the commissioner also in our discussion suggests that we should all get our flu shots sooner than later. So, because you don't want to have the flu and then get COVID, that's a double downer. Let's put it that way. So, okay. Is there any questions or issues that regarding the pandemic I can answer for you guys?
Thanks for the daily updates. I appreciate it. I see it out there. It's always good to know.
Yeah, I wish it was better news, but there it is. Okay, our next agenda item is to authorize the supervisor to execute the proposal to provide a peer-reviewed traffic impact study from FP Clark Associates for the review of the CVS pharmacy at 81 Route 6 in the amount of $12,000 plus out-of-pocket expenses from the Director of Planning. So go ahead.
That's going to be to the left of PJ's, kind of in that little house building that's there, right across from Clayton Boulevard.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I was just going to say, for those of you that are not aware, we're currently in the review process in the planning board for CVS up on Route 6 across, as Tom said. I guess it's almost right across from the Chase Bank.
Yeah, it's to the left because that's PJ's right there. So it's probably that house that's been there for ages.
They were looking for a drive-in? right?
Yes, for
Right.
CVS, right? And we were supportive of that.
Right.
Initially, I was not, because I thought it may just add to the traffic congestion. But as some of you pointed out, with seniors picking up medications and things like that, that keeps them out of the store. And especially in this day and age with the pandemic at full throttle, anything that can help them stay out of a store is probably a good thing. So, yeah, that would be Roland, I think that what is special exception use for driving?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But is it already zoned? It's zoned okay for the store, right? It's just a drive-in that's a special exception use?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's put this on the consensus agenda for next week. And then the item number 3 is the authorize the supervisor to execute the proposal to provide on-call traffic and planning consulting services from FP Clark for the town of Somers, and will continue to bill for their services on an hourly basis per referral from Surratt Tim. So basically, look, we've been working with FP Clark for years. This is, but I guess periodically we pass a authorization to retain them for on-call traffic consulting. We did that with the sidewalk and the pedestrian bridge. They've been involved with the new school. So, and in the memo is their hourly rates. But once again, they don't accrue anything under this authorization until such a time as we use them for this on-call consulting. So we'll move that to the consensus agenda also. Okay, so number 4 is adopt a resolution for the new LGS 1 retention and disposal schedule. So Patty, can you give us a little rundown of what that is?
Yes, absolutely. So New York State Archives dictates what we need to save and for how long we need to save. And they were working with 4 different schedules over the different municipalities. So like for the towns and villages, for municipalities, we had the MU1. County had the CO1. Education had the ED1. And there's another one that I'm not familiar. Oh, it's the M1U or something. That I think is like for other state entities. So they took everything, they put it all into one document. Basically, it's all about records management, and each town, village, city entity has to adopt it by January 1st. So,
Okay,
So everyone's on the same schedule now? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
that's the purpose of this. Now, is this any more onerous than our current retention program?
no, actually, they went through the retention schedules for each entity and cleaned it up, added all the stuff that needed to be added. Some of our retention is actually less strenuous, but it also addresses all electronic, microfilm, how we went to digital. It's actually a clean slate
Okay,
and very user-friendly.
Good.
Good.
glad to hear that. Okay, so we'll move that. There's no reason no, we have till the end of the year. We'll put that on the consensus agenda as well. Okay, which brings us to item 5. Approve the implementation of a contribution for retiree spouses with dual family health coverage effective September 1. The contribution will be in an amount not to exceed the maximum contribution allowed by NYSHIP rules and will be modified January of each year, dependent on any changes to the family premium. There will be no contribution for single coverage. The calculation will remain unchanged should the town change healthcare providers. So let me explain this. So we had a number of, or have a number of retirees that are carrying family health care. Each one of the retirees could be a couple. Each one of them is carrying family health care. So in our efforts to kind of close the financial gap that we're experienced due to COVID, we've been looking for ways to streamline and save money. So, our finance director, Bob Kehoe, identified this issue where we were paying family health care ×2 for some of our retiree couples. So what this is doing is, when we implement this, is to offer to the retirees, you can keep your family health care for each one of you, but it will be, you then have to contribute. Or you can switch to single for each one of you, which is really no change in coverage, and there's no contribution. So really, nothing changes other than the town is going to save a boatload of money on health insurance. So this was a very good find, and it will help the the financial situation that we've been in. As you all know, we had to cancel our summer camp program, and that was a definite revenue generator that has just lost money. So this is yet another way we're coming back, trying to cover those lost wages. Our lost revenue. So this, there will be no calculate change. Okay. So this went in September 1st. So I'm thinking about maybe we should move this item. Patty, you have any preference on that?
Makes no difference either way.
Well, if the payments are due on that in the middle of the month. So if I think we already saved that money. I don't think it makes a difference whether this week or next week. I think the money's already been saved because you pay September in the middle of August. This will save the town, though, regardless, about $30,000 a year. No one loses any coverage. It's a prime example of the so-called win-win. And that's what you're looking for. It's taken a while to negotiate all that because NISHIP's rules, which weren't as simple as we originally thought. And if there was a concern among some, what if you're older and you are retired, but then you adopt kids or, something happens, but this allows for it to revert to family coverage. So it just saves the town money while keeping the employee equally covered in insurance. So it's a really good proposal. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's taken a while to get it, but it is good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the only reason why I was proposing to move it tonight is it was effective September 1, but as you said, we've already had the savings. So all right, well,
I think so. I think he paid that in the middle of August when the people agreed to it, I believe. Okay. But it wouldn't matter. Either we got paid in September, or we got middle of September, or we paid in the middle of August.
Exactly.
Whatever's your pleasure, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay. Well, it was my pleasure to hear you further explain that because it was
okay.
Much more detailed. So no, we'll put it on the consensus agenda. Okay, which brings us to personnel. Once again, we have opening on our boards, people. And I'm heartened by the fact that we have yet formed another group called the Telecommunications Task Force. And this was in response to, our utility, well, let's call them a utility, our cable and internet providers. Councilman Faulkner has been championing trying to get them to hold their feet to the fire. Councilman Sirico and myself have been meeting with Heritage Hills and Comcast for past year. But so what we're now doing is kind of combining forces, and we've scheduled a meeting, or the Councilman Sirico and Faulkner have scheduled a meeting for Tuesday evening with a number of volunteers that want to serve on this this group. So at the end of the meeting, if either one of you two want to speak a little more about it, we can do so.
Sure.
But we have Affordable Housing Board, Library Board, Partners in Prevention. We want to acknowledge the retirement of Police Officer Greg Naranka from the Somers Police Department effective September 12th. Officer Naranka has been with the Somers Police Department for 32 years. I mean, Greg, you know, he is out there, rain, shine. I'm going to miss his winter cap. He's got one of those Alaskan bush hats with floppy ears when he's out there directing traffic in front of our schools and keeping our kids safe. So, you know, Greg, you're going to be missed, and want to sincerely thank you for all your service over this past 32 years.
He's also a Somers boy. He went to Somers schools. So
Oh.
he's, he grew up in Somers.
Well, good. Now that he's going to have some time on his hands, maybe he wants to come back and volunteer for one of our boards.
I'm certain.
So you know, Greg is retiring. At our last meeting, we had an interview with Mr. Stephen Fulton, and we're authorizing the hiring of Stephen Fulton as a temporary Somers police officer, part-time, to work no more than 20 hours per week at an hourly rate equivalent to 80% of the current police officer rate, effective August 27th, and change the status from temporary to probationary when Officer Naranka retires, per email dated August 26th from Michael Driscoll, Chief of Police. So welcome, Officer Fulton. We look forward to many years of service to the Somers community.
Very good.
You want to move that, Rick?
Yes, I do. I was just about to do that. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to authorize the hiring of Stephen Fulton as a temporary Somers police officer, part-time.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Mm.
Okay, under planning and engineering. Okay, this is a New York Water Company wetland application. So this has to do with the Willows Homeowner Association. There's an application for an environmental permit.
I didn't realize that the water pressure was bad up there.
We're talking about phosphoruses and stuff in the water, I think, trying to dig deeper wells.
Yeah, but it also had to do, if I read it correctly, in one of the areas, it had to do with water pressure also.
Right, and apparently, you know, there's that pure fluoro, octane, sulfates, and perfluoro.
Yeah,
You know,
The work and purpose, exploratory drilling proposed in 2 locations with 1 alternate. The purpose is to increase the water supply for the Diker water supply system, because the current supply has had elevated chloride and all those things.
right, and we have a new action level with those PFOs. This is something the town has to comply with as well. So Adam has added this to his sampling, but there is an issue there, and that's so I said the town board's review and comment is, yeah, go forth and do the study and do the drilling.
Yeah.
And well, hopefully they hit a nice vein and takes care of the water problem there.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we have a proposed consensus agenda of accept the following erosion control bonds for August 10th and August 17th memos from Wendy Getting, Planning and Engineering Senior Office Assistant. Coral Seafood Site Plan Resolution in the amount of $780 and erosion control bond for Adriano Stormwater Management in the amount of $500. So the that Coral Sea restaurant is going to be right down from where that CVS is being
CVS,
proposed. So, you know, a number of years ago, we talked about if you bring sewers and sidewalks, that area up there will flourish.
That's right.
And we're seeing the results of that. This
Sewers
is,
are a good thing.
yes. The, you know, once again, the planned hamlet has been in the town of Somers planning books or master plan since 1974. So it's really, you know, gratifying that this is the board that got to see, you know, the planned hamlet really come together, get developed and thrive.
You know, it's funny, Rick, my first site walk when I got on the zoning board 20 years ago was up where before there were any buildings in the planned hamlet, walking around that area. Nothing had been built yet. So we've seen it all over the last 20 years turn into a very, very good thing.
Right. Well, I mean, that site really wasn't developed, what, 5 years ago, 6
Right.
years ago.
It all happened.
Whenever yeah, whenever the Muse came in. So, and, you know, Artis is well on its way to being built as well. That's at the southern piece of that property.
Right off Mayapack Avenue.
All right, so the only really undeveloped piece of the planned hamlet is the commercial piece, which abuts right up by Shop and Stop, that corner.
Right.
Behind Muse 1 and 2. Okay. I believe we have
And
a
that,
few.
and that sidewalk, you know, was built by Ken Carney. That was part of the deal or whatever you want to call it. If you're
It's
going
called the
to build,
community benefits package.
that's what I was looking for, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how you get things done sometimes, by dealing with people. And of course, you know, Ken has been very good dealing with the town and I think flexible. And that's an example up there. And as you said, it ties that area together. And for the people who are going to live there, you know, who wants to walk along that road? So that, I think that helps the stores and it helps the people who do live there, will live there, and it keeps it safer for everybody.
No, I'm Rich. I'm glad you brought that up. Of course, you know, Ken's obligation basically was to put a sidewalk in front of, you know, his property on Route 6. But as part of this community benefits package, he not only extended it up to towards Mayapack, but he went up to Mayapack Avenue,
Right.
which made a very nice pedestrian corridor to get up to those businesses that are up on Mayapack Avenue,
Mhm.
the Tool Nut and you know, those other
Very good.
stores there.
Ken has been a model of somebody who's willing to work with the town and make sure Somers gets the benefits that it needs through these different types of things. He's been a good friend to Somers. I mean, and we've been good to him as well. Obviously, we have a great working relationship, but he's done a nice job.
But you're
It's
right.
important
That's like
that,
that retirement health care. Both sides gain when you compromise and you deal, and each side understands the other. And I think you're right. This is an example of that. Obviously, he wants his business to succeed. We want his business to succeed, but we want to have a town that is better in some way, not just because his business succeeds, but in other areas that are just, like Rick says, community benefits. So yeah, I think you're 100% right.
He's a great partner. He has a vested interest in all those properties and those businesses. And so he's not building and hightailing it out of town. He's essentially building it. He's trying to build it in a way that it'll thrive and sustain itself. And he was a good choice to work with.
And
Right.
Mrs. or Mr. or whatever they call it now, Greens is moving into the one there at the old driving range. They're shutting the
Yeah,
one down.
right,
Georgetown,
finally.
and they're coming over to Somers. So he's got. I think if he does that, he'll have full occupancy. I know Bobo's is doing a thriving business there.
Yeah.
They have a hair salon, and now Mr. Greens or Greens Market, whatever they call it,
Mrs. Greens, I think it is.
will be there. So good stuff. Others who were looking there were complaining about retail, and he's getting it done.
Yeah, yep.
Well, he
Well,
was
and
himself, but we kid him. It was a little bit easier than you thought.
well, he puts his money where his mouth is. He actually moved his Carney Group offices to that building. So
Okay.
they're on the second floor there. So, okay, with that, Patty, I think you have a couple of announcements for us.
Before we do that, we just want to close public comment. And
Okay, Paul, anyone call in for public
We give it
comment?
enough time?
Yeah, we,
Yeah, we gave it an hour.
we have nothing on this side, guys.
Okay,
I think
right, so
that, next week there will be some public comment, but that's just me guessing.
yeah, I think so too. All right, so
Just so
I'll
clairvoyant.
make a motion to close public hearing, public comment.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. All right, now, without further ado,
Okay.
our town clerk will now present the weekly or bi-monthly announcements.
all right, so Census 2020 is still in full swing. We have until September 30th to complete it. We've almost made our 2010 numbers, so we'd like to surpass that. So let's get those answered. You can, if you haven't received your code by the mail, you can go online and do that at my2020census.gov. You can respond. I do know the census takers were out the last couple of weeks and have knocked on the doors of people who didn't answer. So they are true census takers if you were afraid to answer your door. Community Solar is having.
Wait, Patty, just before you go on to the next announcement. Yeah, matter of fact, I had a census taker come to my door, leave me a flyer, and I had gone online already. So there's a little redundancy there. So, don't be surprised if you do get a knock on the door, even though you did go online and register for the census.
Yeah, I had no issues with my registration. I did not get a card because I have a PO box, and I did register online, and I have not had a census taker come to my home, so I had no issues doing it
Okay.
online. So the next announcement we have is Community Solar is having an information session via Zoom on Wednesday, September 16th. There is either a 12 o'clock session or 5:30. You have to register, and the link to register is available on the town website. And then good news for everyone, this proves we're really getting back to normal. Westchester County Mobile Shredder is coming to Somers Tuesday, October 27th. They ask that all residents remain in their vehicles, and the town personnel will assist there to remove your shredding from your vehicles, and it will be shred. That is all. We are Somer strong. Keep up the good work. Wear your mask and social distance.
Where will
And-
it be?
And thank you. Just a word on the community solar. As you recall, the number of, I think it was July meeting, we had Nina Orville from Westchester Power. So we've adopted basically the program for the town. We're going to be saving 10% on our bills as well. But this presentation is really good for those people in the community who heard about community solar, can't afford or can't put solar panels on their house. This is a way for you to get in on saving money through solar energy. There are other companies out there that are offering this community solar type of package. We vetted some of those out and compared them to Westchester Power's community solar, and the town has made the decision to go with, Westchester Power and the community solar. And basically what it is, there are farms upstate and they put solar panels up. They generate electric credits, and those who are in the program reap a benefit from that. So even though you don't have a solar panel on your house, you can buy into a solar farm and get a credit. So take advantage of that presentation on September 16th, 2 sessions, 12 and 5:30 p.m.
And credit to the Somers Energy and Environment Committee, that had brought that to us, I think back in February or March with Donnie Bleasdale, the chairman of the committee. And their whole committee has been, I'm on their email list. And so they've been very active, and credit to them also for searching out and bringing us these things, as well as Nina Orville, of course, who we've dealt with on other projects too.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
And can I say one thing, Rick?
Sure.
I was going to wait until we had an in-person meeting, but I have no idea when that's ever going to happen again. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to thank some people. As you know, I don't know if I was chair or whatever of the of sort of the COVID reopening.
That was the
Task
reentry
force.
task force.
There you go. And I wanted to thank some people. Patty, who's on the call, I want to thank. I want to thank Kim DeLucia, Michelle McKierney, Andrew Farber, Tommy Tuma, Denise Shermer, Barbara Lloyd, Steve Ralston, and Tammy Sava. All of them, originally we would meet once a week. At the first, it was when COVID was just starting, and all of them, department heads were able to give their advice as to what we should do as regarding PPE and what they were seeing in the town and what they wanted to have happen. We did those meetings weekly, eventually to where we got to the point where I put together a reopening plan that Patty and Michelle were the first ones, and Kim, to review and give feedback, and then we put it out to everybody. The plan is in place now. As I said at the beginning of this call, I think it's working well. Everything can be tweaked as you move along, but we still continue to meet. We've made it every couple of weeks now, just so we have some feedback. Last week we sort of had what we call the soft opening. Now we're in full force, and but with all of these people, with all of the other duties they had, and with having to work so hard with what was being thrown at them, they were all able to take time out of their day for the meeting as well as follow up. And I want to thank them. And I've always said this. I've been, doing something with the town for 20 years now, be it planning, zoning, or on the town board. We have the best group of employees that I've ever worked with, and they take things very seriously. Patty and Michelle, their whole thrust was, we're here to provide the people with a service, and it's better if we could do it in person safely versus on the phone. And so that was sort of what we took and we ran with. We still tell everybody it's best if you have an appointment, because then you won't have to wait. If you don't have an appointment, come into the townhouse. You'll be checked in. Expect to get your temperature taken, to answer 5 COVID questions, to hand sanitize, to get a card as to where you're going. You go to where your meeting is and you leave. Unfortunately, the days of sort of sitting around the coffee pot and hanging out for 20 minutes are not happening now, because we have other people who need to come in. Same thing goes for employees. Employees have to take their temperature. If you don't take your temperature when you go in, you have to go in, get your temperature taken, sign off, and do a similar thing. So we have a person doing that now in the meeting room.
And she's very good at it too.
Thank you. Yeah, she's a pleasant, very pleasant person. But she takes it seriously. I was having a discussion with one of the police officers in the hallway, and I was told to disband because we were not allowed to do that. And she was 100% right, and I left. But the reentry committee did a fantastic job. They took it serious. I thank them because obviously, we did it as a team. I will recognize them again when we are in person. But again, I don't know when. I would imagine that the governor is going to extend it even longer just because you see what's happening at colleges and all. But I do want to thank them. Patty's the only one who's on the call, but Patty is always 100%. You always know where you are with Patty, and she tells you what she thinks, and she always gives sage advice as she does to everybody else in the town. She was a vital part of it. Kim DeLucia, I really couldn't have done it without Kim. Kim, kept the minutes and put the agendas together, much like she does for the NYSEG task force. She did a fantastic job. But they all need to be recognized as people who wanted to get the town back up and running so we could function for the citizens of the town, even if it is in a different sort of way. So I wanted to mention all their names. I wanted to thank them. And that was it.
All right. Well, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the lead here. Believe me, if I had to do what you did during these storms that we've had, the outages, used to be, the town of Somers supervisor's office ran the electric utility company in town. But apparently now we're in charge of cable and internet services.
Yeah, so I heard.
Yeah, so we now get those calls as well. But I think you did a great job, Tom. And I mean, I could spend every town board meeting going down the list of people who really stepped up in this town. And I think you said it best. We've got some of the best employees that any municipality could hope for.
I love going in and just talking to them and getting their feedback. They all do great, and they're not afraid to tell you what they think, which is the best way to be.
Yep.
Especially Patty, right, Patty?
So
thank you, Tom, and thank you, Patty. Well done.
Yeah, just before we close out, Anthony, do you want to, or Bill, want to say anything about the task force, the utility task force?
Yeah, I'll go first, Tony, if that's all right. Just I thank everybody for getting behind this initiative, and it's very important, obviously, especially with COVID going on and everybody working from home. And the outpour of volunteerism is not surprising, but it is staggering coming from our fellow citizens in Somers. We've got guys and gals joining us from retired from telecommunications companies, retired engineers, retired IBMers, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got quite a bit of intellectual capital. And I expect a lot from this group, and I know we're going to deliver. And the first meeting is going to tread lightly. And Councilman Sirico said it best. He says we're just going to get everybody together, get a roll call, and devise our mission statement. And then from there, everything else will follow with one thing in mind: increased, better, more reliable service.
Yeah.
So, on that, we had a hell of a month, would you say, with all these outages?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
The storm was August 4th. On August 21st, I mean, we're holding meetings with, with Altice and the rest of the communities, the municipalities. I mean, we were still out. We had probably 60 or 70 outages that were just so stubborn that they just would not go away. Kudos to your office and Kim and Tammy. You guys were taking like 20 calls a day. We set up an escalation process directly into Altice where they were handling this for us and following up on that basis. And In conjunction with that, we filed a complaint with the Public Service Commission. You can see that on the website. The frustration is just off the charts with community. So I think this is going to help us, just clear some of that frustration and see if we can get some things done. I think we're going to have a little bit of regulatory leverage here, and I think that's going to be helpful. And so we'll work through that. But just to give everybody a quick overview. I mean, the letter that we wrote was a complaint against Altice, and we pointed out to them that we have 4,900 subscribers in the town of Somers, and their emergency response, Tropical Storm Isaias, was just poor. There was no emergency planning. The response was chaotic as best. I think the problem we were running into was just their customer service. They couldn't get to the customer service. When they got to customer service, they didn't give them a good answer. When they got an action, when they dispatched, let's say, a trouble ticket, they weren't able to close it. It was coming back, and so people were just coming back with calls to the townhouse. And I got to say, Kim, she was handling calls Saturday, Sunday, in the evenings, and corresponding with everybody, with the regulator as well as with Altice. So I think things have calmed down a bit right now, but we just got to take this to the next step. We have the complaint filed. I think you're going to be expecting a response from the Public Service Commission in the next few days. And
Yeah, we did. I did get a letter today acknowledging our complaint.
Okay.
So if our utility task force and our complaint to the PFC about NYSEG is an example, it took 2.5 years, but in this past December, NYSEG and their affiliate upstate New York were fined $10 million. And which was to
Now
be
they're
used.
proposing a 25% rate increase, right?
Yeah, right. But the Public Service Commission has to review that as well. But what I understand with what the PFC is doing, they've accelerated their review process, which normally would have taken 2 years. The governor's been telling them we want this done in 6 months. So you guys are going to start this task force. I know the first meeting will be kind of getting the Somers group organized, but our neighboring communities want to be part of this. We want to bring in our contacts at Comcast, at Altice, at Verizon, and have them be part of this task force, as we did with the utility task force. Have them be co-opted into this. Answer our questions. What are you doing? What are you going to do to enhance communication? Because there's nothing more frustrating than sitting on a phone for 40 minutes and then you get a recording that says, all lines are busy, call back. That's not acceptable. It's just not.
So the hope is that like with the with the task force you had with the utility, it was not only the $10 million, you were able to get them to change their workflow, make investments into the community, put program in place to fix trees and all that. I think we have a similar expectation here. They were woefully unprepared. They did not have the manpower in place to handle the storm. They didn't have the materials in place to fix what was down in the storm. Their network was proved to be unsustainable. Their battery backups were going down within 4 hours, and they could not restore them for days. They claimed that they knew where the outages were, but they were reporting 0 outages for Somers, and then the next day, 60 or 70.
Yeah.
So all that was reported to the Public Service Commission. We offered to the Service Commission that we would, give them all the complaints that we have, if need be, and let's hope, we'll get them to move forward.
Will be interesting in this when Tom and I were meeting on that NICEAG task force, as we said several times at the beginning, it was like being stonewalled. It's like, well, we're doing the best we can and can't be done any better. And we were very frustrated. Like, well, why are we meeting then if that's the best you can do? And if that's the best you can do as NICEAG, that isn't good enough. But over time, through, I think, their leadership changing their tune, it's not perfect. I think the whole way we supply electricity in the future is going to have to change across the country because of the changing climate. But they became much more amenable and responsive. Now, it'll be interesting to see with these cable companies whether they are going to take the same tact with the new group. Like, well, you can't do anything. It's a storm that comes along every once in a while. We did the best we can, blah, 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 blah. Then do better. What did you learn and what are you going to do better? And just one thing, I just went with you two guys, Bill and Anthony, the people, someone just asked me the other day when I was walking the dog, if your cable has been out, you do not now have to apply for the credit. They said they were going to give that credit automatically. Am I correct? That's what I had said
Well,
to people.
We got to go back.
That was one of our demands.
We asked, as part of the complaint, we asked for a proactive credit that was meaningful and, and they told us that they would be doing that over the next 6 weeks. I don't have an exact amount yet. However.
Yeah, I don't know what the amount is. I'm just saying that in the past you had to call, put it in, and if you called, you were put on hold for like 3 days. Right. So you gave up trying to ask for the credit. I think that was the plan.
Well, some of the debate with Altice was that they when they capitulated on saying they would give a credit, they only wanted to give it for the portion that their service went down. They didn't want, when the electric was down, they didn't want that to count because they felt that they were, the electric company was just a supplier and they weren't responsible for that. Nobody took that as a, excuse. You got to keep your network running. It's your responsibility to have the battery backups and to get that done. And, you say you can see everybody, well, then everybody's out and you can give somebody a credit.
Right.
So the frustration level is very high. I would expect to have we're going to have a similar situation where they're going to push back, but they've already capitulated. I mean, they've gone through these meetings when we were all on the meetings. Let's say with Westchester County, there were 150 people on the calls. Every municipality, every legislator, state, federal, whatever, on their case. And then they had to do that with Nassau County and Rockland County. So there we're not in a good way. The Public Service Commission has issued them a notice, which is not public record yet. But they've essentially gave them an ultimatum and said, these are the things that you have to do in a short period of time. And supposedly they're doing that. We'll get behind that as well as part of the task force. So it's going to be fun.
I think for Rich and I, these task force are always a lot of fun.
They become better, but they must be terrible business people because you've 95% of the people given the chance would immediately cut the cable today if they could get the same services at a cheaper price.
Though. That's a monopoly or an oligopoly.
Well, I know.
That's right.
So that has to be broken up, which has been my point for the last few years. So yeah, they're going to be dinosaurs. That's like selling DVDs at Redbox. It's a dying industry if they can't figure out a way to do it better.
So fortunately for Heritage Hills, Comcast performed pretty well. I mean, essentially they didn't have much of an outage there. But they're completely frustrated as well because they can't bring them to the table on ongoing service issues that they have in that community.
Yeah.
People show up, they're not in the correct marked cars. You don't know whether they're strange people, what they're doing there. They start digging, don't have the proper identification. Those are all basic things that they need to.
Right. Well, this is a good segue using Heritage as an example. We just had a comment in our chat room about, if these utilities are all above ground and accessible to storms and trees and crashes and things like that, what good is it if you increase your service level? Heritage Hills, utilities are underground. They can lose electricity and they can lose cable, but not because of anything that's happening on their campus. all their infrastructure is underground. And when you think about it, we have miles and miles of 1800s technology. I mean, those wires up there started off as telegraph wires. The only thing that's really changed is now it's fiber optics, but they're still susceptible to all those things I just mentioned. And a visual cue as to how good these cable companies are doing, just right around town, where you see 2 poles, that means the electric utility has come through, replaced the pole. They're taller now, but they've moved all their wires onto these poles. They're waiting for Altice and then Verizon to move their wires up onto the new pole, and then that other pole gets removed. I've been staring at the same dual poles in this town for the last 5 years. So that's something your task force is going to be taking up as well. Get your damn wires up on the new poles. At least give us that advantage.
So in the emergency process is one of the things we complained to the Public Service Commission. Essentially the interoperability between NYSEG puts up their pole after it gets knocked down. They don't inform Verizon or Altice that they fixed it. There's no ticketing system that is efficient. So it lays on the ground until the customer complains.
Till the supervisor's office gets the call.
And it's just completely, in Richard Somers Park, we had a couple of outages there and wires down over driveways. It took us, and this was like August
West Somers
17th,
Park, West Somers
19th and
Park.
20th.
Yeah.
We finally,
So
one of the guys came up with a truck and hooked it up to so people get out of the driveway.
Yeah, I would suspect that one of the immediate results of your telecommunications task force is going to be that enhanced communication between NYSEG and Altice and Verizon.
Right.
Because that has to happen. That's number one, just for the reasons you mentioned. And that's an easy fix. That's the easiest fix. But we're going to bring them in and bring them to the table. So
Hey.
good luck. Good luck with your task force.
Rick.
Any
Hey,
support
Rick,
you need, you'll get it.
You're on the task force also, Rick, so.
No.
Oh, yeah, you're number 2. Number
Roland,
3.
can I be on a task force with other 2 councilmen?
Oh, not unless you want to make them advertise meetings.
I'm sure I'll be on vacation one week and maybe Bill will be
Well,
on vacation.
I'd be
another
more
week.
than happy. I'd be more than happy to fill in for either one of you at the time when the time comes.
And I'm just
But
happy I overlooked for this one. I have one other announcement, Rick.
Sure.
And again, we'll be able to talk about it next week, but I think next week's meeting is going to probably be a little bit more crazy. Just so
Be
everybody
optimistic.
knows, there will be a 9/11 ceremony on Friday, September 11th,
Yeah.
10 a.m. at Bailey Park, rain or shine. However, in light of the COVID public gathering restrictions, it will be virtual and is restricted to participants only. The ceremony will be taped and broadcast on cable channel 20 in the town of Somers and Somers Historical Society YouTube channels throughout the day for general public viewing. And everybody can keep in mind that Bailey Park is the site of the Somers Unity Garden, memorializing the September 11th tragedy. So there will be some speakers, the fire chief, the supervisor, the police chief. We're reaching out to some of the victims' families.
What about the
and,
scouts?
And no scouts. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning during the school day.
Okay.
So we're not going to do that. And we want to thank, they picked up a couple of things here. We want to thank the Historical Society, Grace Zimmerman, and
Doris Jane.
Doris, yeah, sorry, I just talked to her today. We want to thank them, and I saw them over at the Bailey Park, sort of scouting things out. They picked up the ball on a couple of things, and we really do appreciate it. We certainly do not want this day to go by without some sort of recognition So we'll repeat this again next Thursday.
Yeah.
Put the information on the town website, but just lest anybody think that the town is not doing anything, we most certainly are. And I want to
Right.
thank Patty for bringing it up to remind me to make that announcement.
No, we got a text message.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I do want to add one thing because Tom outed us that we're actually open. So,
Sorry.
all good. Everybody needs to enter through the meeting room. So do not knock on the front door. If you have a key, do not open the front door. You need to enter through the meeting room. The front door is not a public access. And, we do have the door knocker and we get the dot, 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 and we have a sign, but the sign tends to fall over. So I just want to throw that out there. We do prefer you to have an appointment, especially when it comes to things like notaries, or if you're coming with a ticket, to make sure So for notary appointments, it's easier for me to say to Ann, I have somebody coming in 15 minutes or at 10 o'clock, so that if somebody's in my office in the deputy side, I can then go and say, no, they're here for me, and bring them up when I hear them, or let her know that they're coming to see me, so that we only have one person in any office at any given time. I'm the odd situation where I have two sides of the hall. I just wanted to throw those couple things out.
Patty, and that includes if you're going to the building or assessor's office, you have to go to the meeting room first.
Absolutely. Always start in the meeting room.
And there's a big sign there that says it, and you're amazed at how many people don't read it.
Right.
And the
You
reason for that
gotta
is
read the signs.
that's
Right.
where the temperature check is. That's where the sanitizer for the hands are, and that's where you sign in. So it all has to be centralized at this point. So it makes perfect sense.
Right.
And I have to say, the system is getting a workout because we've now in tax pay mode. So there is a box out there for you to drop off your taxes. However, there are a large number of people that want to come in and see the tax receiver. So if they do, they come in, they go to the desk, get the temperature check, log in, and they get sent up to the tax receiver.
You can
And I've
also
been
pay
told- I've been
online.
told
as
that-
well. You
Sorry,
can
go ahead, Rick.
pay online.
Well, I've been
Excuse me?
told that,
You can pay
99%
on-
of the people are very appreciative and they understand why we're doing it.
Sure.
So just remind people that they can pay online their taxes.
Yeah. Good point.
So they go to the town
Yes.
website.
Anthony and Bill, you may at some point perhaps invite, well, our county representatives sometimes show up to the NYSEG task force. I'm sure they would show up to this, but also, we'd help at the state and federal level. So, at some point, Harcum and Kevin, Peter Harcum and Kevin Byrne and Sean Patrick Maloney may want to be included. I mean, it's hard to get those guys because they're busy, but this is not just a local issue. So maybe I was just thinking maybe they should come too at some point. They're not going
Harkham's
I mean,
usually
I
pretty
think
good at making things. Harkham, he even got on with the school task force.
Yeah.
So Peter will try if you ask him.
Yeah,
They
well,
were-
I already have a commitment from the Dot and Kitley Cole,
Yeah.
our county
Yeah, they're
legislators.
good.
They were
So-
included, they were CC'd on the complaint.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've given some
Well,
thought to that. I think
you
that if we get their okay to speak on their behalf on some of these things, that might help the fact that they can't necessarily always be there in person. But if we
Right.
be their spokesman on this issue, that might be a close second.
Right, but you may want to actually send an invite to the Tuesday meeting.
Yeah, we can do
Um,
that. We can
Yeah,
do
to
that.
those two.
Yeah,
If you can get Congressman Maloney, that gives you some gas,
yeah.
Hey, Rick, what
I'd
percentage?
rather,
of
I'd
the
rather
census-
save the time with Maloney to when we got Altice in front of us.
Yeah, maybe
It's
so.
just
Yeah.
amongst us right now.
Include them. Rick, what
Yes, sir.
percentage are we at on that census? I was just thinking, you got over at Bailey Park, we have that. Are we over 70% yet?
Oh, yeah, we're 73 point.
Yeah.
Patty, you have that number?
73.3.
So
And
there's
our,
still 26% of the people who aren't counted.
Which
I
is
mean,
0.04% less than 2010.
But we're talking about a quarter of the people who haven't been counted. We want to count everybody. It helps
Yep.
us in so many ways. We get aid for that. We want to be accurate. It helps us with projections going forward. So we want, if we can get 100%, everybody should do it.
Right. Well,
Mhm.
not only that, we're a larger town now. We're up to, 24,000
right.
people.
Right, right.
So let's get registered.
Yeah.
Okay. Any closing concerns, comments?
One closing comment, Rick. Of course, yesterday, September 2nd, the 75th anniversary to the end of World War II. So again, endless thanks to the greatest generation ever.
Here, here.
Bill, I enjoy your historical references during these
Right.
meetings. This is cool.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here without them. That's for
I
sure.
wanted to pan his camera
Yeah.
to his coffee table so we could see the book, Important Dates in the US.
Feel like I'm back in school, teaching school again.
Hey, no, continue.
No,
We enjoy
Appreciate
them.
it. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Good job, Bill.
Okay. So if there are no other concerns or comments, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. And good night, Somers.
Good night, guys.
Weekend,
Good
guys.
night. Take care, guys.